What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. And in this video, oh yeah, this looks goofy. I'm sorry, dog. It was cold outside, so I was wearing a hoodie under my sweat. It looks goofy. I'm sorry. Anyways, we're going to be talking about what I would do with the Darius Slay and how I would approach the Darius Slay situation. So let's get it started. Darius Slay thing is going on right now. Obviously, a lot of you guys actually saw my last video, which is awesome. I appreciate all of you guys that checked that out. But we talked about how Darius Slay was apparently in a multiple, trade rumors or a lot of talks about being traded from the Detroit Lions. And it could definitely happen this offseason. I'm going to be talking about what I think the Detroit Lions or how I would approach the Darius Slay situation this offseason. Looking at our current cornerback roster, we do have Amani Oruwariye, who came in last year and didn't play a lot until really the end of the season and just balled out when he was playing. In a few weeks, he was actually our best cornerback according to Pro Football Focus. He came up with an interception. He was really good, and he looked like a starter material type of cornerback in year one. And we all thought he was a steal. Like, we were all surprised that he lasted until the 6th round, and we selected him. We're like, oh my gosh, we got a steal. Maybe this is the steal of the draft. And he definitely could have been. And now Amani going into his second year, and you would assume he would improve a little bit. If that is the actual case, he could be starter material type of cornerback. I believe he could be our number 2 cornerback next year, and I think that would be reasonable. Now, after that, what do we have? Well, we have Justin Coleman, who's our slot cornerback, and how much we paid him, I still believe Justin Coleman is good to go. I think we're okay there. So you have your slot. Michael Ford has been a solid cornerback for us. We know it was kind of between him and Teez Tabor. We decided to move on from Teez Tabor, and we kept Michael Ford, and he hasn't been bad for us. He's been a good depth rotational type of cornerback. So I think we still have a solid group. However, we don't have a number 1 go-to guy, but do we need that? Is that necessarily what we need? Do we need a top cornerback in the league? No, you don't. You don't need to have one of the best cornerbacks in the league to have a successful defense. Now, some teams do, right? The Patriots, they have Stephon Gilmore, the best cornerback in the league probably, and we know they have a very successful defense. But some teams don't have the best cornerbacks in the league. However, they have a nice pass rush. They have a lot of other things that kind of helps out and, makes those okay cornerbacks look a lot better than they really are. Obviously, if you get pass rush, it makes your cornerbacks look a lot better. We saw the opposite of that last season. We saw a team that didn't get pass rush, and it made our cornerbacks look a lot worse. So we really didn't know how good they were last season because we were so bad at getting pass rush. We were also ranked the last against the pass. So last year was just completely terrible. Now, Darius Slay is on the last year of his contract. He will have one more year. He could play this season. The Lions wouldn't have to do anything, and they wouldn't have to pay him. He could just finish out his last year of his contract because he does have one final year remaining. Now, what the Detroit Lions did last time this was the situation with Golden Tate, they waited up till the trade deadline during the season, and they traded Golden Tate at that time, and I think a lot of people thought, okay, the Lions are kind of giving up on the season at this point because they were in like the middle stages. They were like just under mediocre, and at that point, trading away Golden Tate was really their biggest offensive weapon in an offense that already was struggling with Jim Bob Cooter. We traded him away, and we kind of already knew, okay, yeah, they're kind of giving up on this season. Now, this scenario, the Detroit Lions are already talking about this stuff, and actually, before in the last trade deadline, which was actually last season, the Detroit Lions were looking possibly to trade him once again, and teams like the Denver Broncos were actually interested. I know the Lions were interested in Chris Harris Jr. because they also needed to find a replacement. So I don't know what the asking price is for the Lions, but here's how I would do it if I'm Bob Quinn. One, my asking price would be very high, and it would be very high because I think, statistically, you look at his stats, he's definitely up there as one of the top cornerbacks in the league. He's only 29, which means he's not super old. However, on about the 3rd and 4th year of his new deal, he's going to be aging, and he could be digressing or regressing very fast. So I think I'd be asking for a lot because, one, you're on the win now band-aid, and the Lions, more than that, they're on the fact that they could be fired. Bob Quinn could be fired. Matt Patricia could be fired if they don't have a good season, or at least somewhat successful. And we know, especially the defensive side of things, Matt Patricia known for being a defensive-minded coach. If our defense is bad once again, okay, this is going to look awful for him, all right? The offense can be okay, and, we don't get into the playoffs because our defense was awful. That's going to look bad, and that pretty much will equal him getting fired. That is why Darius Slay, that's like one of the biggest reasons that you would bring Darius Slay back for his final year. That doesn't even mean you have to extend him. You could keep him around for your final year knowing that you have to win. A lot of people are against trading a guy like Darius Slay who's proven, who's one of your best players. He's one of your stars on your team. However, there are a lot of people that are like, okay, I feel like he gave up last season. Now, there's no statistic, I don't think, to really measure that because statistically, he was a good cornerback. I don't think you can measure if he gave up or not. So I'm not really going to get in that too much, but I will say it's kind of a weird situation right here, and I think the Lions should have a pretty high asking price. I would not go anything lower than like a third round pick and a player. Like, I'm saying if you're getting a player that's like an okay cornerback, I'm saying second round. We know we saw the Sidney Jones thing and third round pick. Like, to me, that's not enough. You either got to get a starting caliber player or you need a very high draft pick, because you have to replace him somehow. You're gonna have to take that money. You're gonna have to go get a free agent. You're gonna have to go get a really good cornerback in the draft. You're gonna have to do something, and if you just have neither of those, you're gonna be in a problem. Now, I don't think the Lions need a top cornerback next season. Personally, I don't think. However, my thought has been keeping Darius Slay around for his final year would make a lot of sense. Why? Well, because it's his final year with the Lions, and coming into his contract year, we all know what contract year means for players. It means they're going to ball out. Every contract year for every NFL player is usually their best year. We've seen it multiple times. Cliff Averill is a good example. A lot of players, when it comes to contract year, ball out. Just want a contract. Let's just give it like that. It doesn't really matter where they get it from. They want to get paid. So they're going to ball out, because if that is their best year, teams are going to be looking at that like, wow, this guy is like really on the upswing, and then they'll pay him, and then they'll have the downswing. And everybody's really confused what happened. Well, it's just because he was playing so well, because he knew he was trying to get a contract, and once he got it, he relaxed. Some players relax, some players go at it. I'm not saying Darius Slay is going to relax if he got a contract. However, I am saying I think he's going to have really his best year in probably 3 years this season. And I think for the Lions' sake of knowing that you have to win, I think keeping him around makes sense. Now, if you're blown away by an offer, however, I think it also makes sense that you could possibly move on from him. But I'm saying blown away as in maybe a first-round pick, a very high first-round pick, or a player in a second-round pick, maybe even a first-round pick. I'm thinking you're asking for a lot for Darius Slay, because teams will give it to you. You have to keep in mind, you have a valuable asset, and you have all of the leverage if you're the Lions. Why would you sell yourself short? Think about this. You have this guy locked up for a year, and you don't have to pay him. You have him locked up. He can't go anywhere. So the Lions have to look at this and say, okay, we have the leverage. We have a player like this, and there's other teams out there that need a number one cornerback. They know that's the biggest need, all right? Teams like the Eagles, they know they need a corner. So for those teams, make them give you their most. Make them give you a lot. Not Sidney Jones at 3. You give me Sidney Jones in your first. You give me that 21st pick. And then they may be saying, well, that's way too much. Well, hold up. Is it, though? Is it too much if that is such a big need? You're getting a proven player who's proven a probably top 5 cornerback in this league right now. In the next 3 years, I don't know what he's going to be. But I know right now this is how good he is. So I'm going to ask for a lot. You're either going to give me that, or we're going to hold on to him. And then if that's the case and you hold on to him, now some people are like, okay, hold up. Why would I, hold on to him for a year and then not get anything out of it? Well, that's where it becomes hard. For the Lions, I think with the short-term success that's needed, I think for them, it kind of does make sense to hold on for him. Now, if this was Matt Patricia's first year, or Bob Quinn's first second year, or they had a successful year and they were like, all right, we are good with these guys, then I could see how it would work out where they were like, all right, we can trade him away, we'll be all right. But I think with the fact that they need to win, and they have a guy that does fit their scheme very well and has played successfully. Now, if Lions are looking at this like, all right, he's just not here anymore, he's just not a guy, he doesn't fit our scheme, we don't like him, then they may move on for him. However, I just think we should be blown away by an offer. Let's just not settle. Let's not settle for a third and a mediocre player. Let's go out there and get a big return. And if we don't get it, wait. If we don't get it, wait. What's the worst that can happen? All right, really, he could sit out. There's a lot of options. I don't think he's going to sit out, though, because think about this for a second. Darius Slay sits out in his contract year. His last year wasn't bad. I mean, it was still really good, but it was still a downgrade from his previous. And he's going to sit out in his contract year? Teams that want him are like, okay, hold up, we're already worried about his age. Now he's not even playing. I don't know if I want to mess with that. That could lose it. That could lower his value, or, other teams may not want to give him that big extension, which he is looking for. So I think the Lions need to have the bar set high. They need to ask for a lot, and that's how I would go about this thing. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, Darius Slay, like I said on my last thing in my comments, hey, the finger wag. You played outside. I don't know if y'all do this, but when I play football outside, I know it's kind of weird. I know it's weird. Like wide receiver stuff, cornerback. I'm playing a cornerback, right? And I lock someone down. Or if they burn me, but they drop it, I'm still giving them one of these numbers. Like, now, they may be looking at me like, bruh, I went right by you. But I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Because that is Slay. But if that happens, then what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Am I going to, like, oh. Like, come on, man. There's nothing there. It's always the figure. It's going to be different if he's not here. But I do want success for the team, and that's really when it comes down to. So we'll see what happens. I do think he's worth the deal. The age is just something that really, worries people. I just think we should get a nice offer. I don't think we should settle for something and just be like, all right, you know what? We're okay with it. I think it should be a good offer, or don't take it. So there you go. Set the bar high. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.